What's up, everyone? So, Animated J, I'm with Rico here, Dr. Rico. Uh,
So
it was crazy running into you. You were at the Santa Monica session,
yeah,
K-Flow, so we ran into each other there. And I think that was the first time we met. We haven't met.
yeah, and like in person, no, I haven't met you in person,
Right. But
but
years.
yeah, I have definitely taken inspiration from you over the years. As I was telling you, like when I met you that night,
Mhm.
like the authenticity, you know what I'm saying. But overall, you just have a true presence about your art. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
appreciate that,
yeah,
sir. I appreciate that, man.
yeah.
So let people know who are you? Who's Dr. Rico? Where you coming from? What?
Yo, so I am just this person that got a chance to be birthed in Memphis,
Mm,
and as a result, I got a chance to grow up around the Memphis street dance culture of gangsta walking
mm,
and Memphis juking, like what we refer to it today.
mm,
And I think I just privileged to be able to be a student for so long in it and help really break down and codify it. Probably have taught it the most. I think, yeah,
wow.
without question, taught it and continue to teach, train, grow in it. And then, of course, like over the years, I've had a chance to travel, cultural exchanges with different styles. So
Mm,
I've had a chance to learn popping, house. There's a lot of styles actually. New York flexing, like you
mm.
know what I'm saying. Shout out to Storyboard P,
Ah,
Ghost. Man, I got a list of people. Kool Aid. I can't go through the whole
wow.
list. Like, um, and then I mean, I think for me as a mover, um, I just try to understand like traditionally whatever I'm learning,
Mm,
whatever. But at the root of it, my approach of it is definitely like from a martial arts standpoint.
mm,
So it's like if I'm with these people and I learn this and I learn this approach, I then like take that and just apply it back to like my personal movement, you know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what I've had a chance to even do with any of my styles, but even with juking, like without necessarily trying to shift it, it's just I became more aware of a certain body part, and then I
Mm,
just take that awareness and apply it to like my dance. So
mm.
yeah, so
So, so for people to know, you Memphis, that's where you were born.
yeah,
Okay, and juking comes from Memphis.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now juking the style. How was for people that don't know, where does that come from?
Yeah, so the gangster walk style like is the origin, and I don't even like to like when I explain to people when I say like the term Memphis juking,
Uh huh.
like the way I am speaking of it, I'm speaking of like the original raw full package gangster walk dance style, and then the evolution from the mid 80s of their style to current day. And I say evolution from like a true evolution of like there were certain things that were extracted from it over the years as it relates to certain parts of the music that expanded certain things from the style.
Mm-hmm.
But the original way the Gangster Walkers were doing it, man, they had so many layered textures like inside just the one style. And I mean like Against the Walker's round would be loose. It would be mad groove, but it also could be very like animated, very sharp.
Mm.
Also was really, all about getting bucks. So it was like very dynamic. They used to step, run up walls and
What?
flip like and keep the dance going, as well as it was extremely smooth. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
so much from that element was definitely your dope boys, your pimps, like the people who ran the neighborhoods that were
Mm-hmm.
doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and they were obviously doing it for the ladies. So for me, I got to grow up behind it as a younger person, and then definitely dive into it. But I
Mm.
also got to be a part of like how we built styles off of one move, and
Mm.
to a point where we call it now, Memphis Jukin, it's that idea like holds the space for the original way as well as all the variations that so many unnamed people outside of Memphis, like unnamed but named in the city, that probably never get their story heard besides living through our bodies.
Wow. Wow. Now you're saying there's so many different textures, and you even said anime.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say anime?
Yeah, so one of the perfect examples, man, for anybody that want to see like from the so I'm gonna say it in two ways. One is like from the original Gangsta Walk way. So this group G Style was like one of the innovators and the founding groups of Gangsta Walking,
Wow.
and they also were rap artists. So they got a song that's called Gangsta, you know what I'm saying? And like literally in this song, they talk about a part where he was like, and break down a RoboCop, and he starts like walking in the style of Gangsta Walker, but like with an animated like RoboCop did.
Uh-huh.
And for them, a lot of that is taking characters from TV, and bringing them to life. And it's not just like robot characters.
Mhm.
I can think of times where, for example, had like this thing. I was the big one. Like,
What's that?
yeah, like for example,
Okay,
and
I see.
and the thing about that is, so from like this black culture dance, most of us were in the same economic line,
Mm.
so we all had watching the same shows, so we can
Mm.
relate to. Oh yeah, I know what that is,
Right,
right?
right.
So that's where like that original animation from. Now, if I was to say like the way I think about it is, it's just like some of those textures that we use that literally are like really controlled stops. Um,
Controlled stops.
yeah, and I say stops and not just dime stops because like sometimes for us it's also like thinking about the bounce more than like trying. So, for example, I'm just not gonna
Right,
do anything crazy with my hand,
right.
but sometimes for us, like not wanting to lose this bounce, but then just start it.
Oh, there's like a treble.
Yeah, like the hi hats or so the hi hat may go.
Yes, it keeps bouncing. The bounce is like increasing
Yeah,
or
so
stuttering.
for us, we just were
The
like making the
bounce.
bounce look unreal or had that. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
so which is one like when I handed shout out to OG Dre, like quaking, you know
What's
what I'm saying?
that? What's quaking?
Um, you know what I'm saying? Like OG
It's
Dre,
crazy.
man,
What?
is like probably hands down this guy out of everybody that's probably ever really done a style. He is probably has a style that has been one of the most influential in generations.
Oh
Like,
wow.
but I mean, it's the way like the way he would feel it and the people he taught.
Mm.
But it's one of the ways we talk about. We actually call it the style or styling.
Hmm.
Man, he definitely when he was quake or shake like in his grooves, especially his bugs are
Right. That's so
like.
interesting.
But it's like it would shake the room, like shake the room up. You know what I'm saying? And it make you feel that, like and then
Wow.
like shout out, rest in peace, King Tootie, but he was one of the guys that obviously like learned from Dre, and Tootie was just a battling beast. Like everywhere he went, like he just was calling, he always was calling people out, but he just had like this hard expression, and it's you had to love it, man, and that's one of the things that was like so true about like when somebody's like styling, doing the style, you know what I'm saying, and they had the Quake is coming out like it's unapologetically raw. It's like, oh yeah,
Dang, right. Because I have seen some clips of uh, other people using that, like
yeah,
that pose,
yeah,
like with the
yeah,
shake.
yeah,
Right. Interesting.
yeah.
Wow. So we're talking about RoboCop saying that watching that how he implemented it into his walk, and
Hmm.
then you're saying also certain characters from shows, and then also quaking,
Yeah.
which is the shake. So
Hmm.
would you say these are all different textures or character like where does where does this fall in the lines of I don't know, like where does it fall within this
I
these
think
characters or
so
textures?
like when we started talking about, so quaking would be
Yeah.
like just like part of like what comes from styling. You know what I'm
Styling.
saying?
Okay.
Like, and also like sometimes you people would be referring to styling like chopping, but styling
Chopping.
is a very specific like way of approaching. You know what I'm saying? But it is chopping, and one of the ways to think of like why it's like chopping. Dre had this amazing ear, and so it just looked like whatever he was doing, he was just breaking it down. But
Hmm.
I have to tell you this, like this style originally, and I'm not saying it's lost this now. I'm just
Hmm.
saying originally, this is a style that's more based off emotional intelligence than
Hmm.
analytical.
Well, you
So
yes, if you could
so
go into
yeah,
that.
so like at the origin of it, it's about first honoring and like what you're feeling, right? And being unapologetic about what you're feeling. This is the nice way of talking about being booked. And then like being also aware of how your emotions affect other people around you and how other people are feeling.
Hmm.
Especially from like being booked, because being booked was always such a like emotional wild expression, and you had to be aware of where you was in and who you was involved with, because it quickly turned into like fighting and throwing chairs, and like these was, you know, this was true.
Okay.
But so like as we go further into the dance, originally there wasn't like this codified method, this broken, but you had to really show that you were truly feeling what you were doing. So we also talk about it like dark and light sometimes.
Hmm.
So dancing in the dark is truly not knowing what you're finna do next, but like truly trusting your mind to follow the heart of your emotion.
Hmm.
All right. Dancing in the light would be like having a clear thought of like where you want to go, you know what I'm saying? And this not necessarily mean that it's like 100% choreographed,
Mhm.
but it's like your mind is like very much
There's a
leading the way.
path.
Yeah.
There seems to be.
So I mean now there's definitely a balance of both, but at the root of it, when you tap into like that flow state of just letting go, and we are talking about a city that has a lot of churches. So
Mm.
a lot of us grew up seeing the Pentecostal ghosts, the people catching the spirit and praise that in church, and like,
Interesting.
and that influenced the freedom of how like we move. So I needed to say that so you can understand like when I was talking about like Dre
Yeah.
is he's definitely one of those people who were like, I'm not saying he was the first, but he was one of those first pioneers that had like the balance of both, where everything he did, it was still coming from raw emotion, but he learned how to direct that emotion like in a very stylistic way. You know what I'm saying? So you're feeling what he's doing, but you're also seeing how he's chopping or breaking things down. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's why. So I think um, that's an important way of really thinking about how we think about animation. It's really like we just think of like breaking things down.
Breaking things down.
Yeah.
No, and this is really interesting as I'm hearing this because isn't buck also used in crump, but it's a different way. And all yeah, so isn't church related with crump as well, of the rawness? Or maybe I'm wondering maybe if there's
No, like I think like so I think that that's the beauty of like the spirit of book,
right.
because even predating crumping, even predating like Memphis juking, like there is a dance style in America that's called buck dancing, and it predates tap dancing, and it's still now. I want to say that they're depending on where we're talking from, dance wise. Sometimes the term books was given from the perspective of just calling it what it is, like white people that were looking at black slaves and just saying what they were doing, buck dancing. There's also a term that was used as the word juking, not juking, but juking as related to like dancing that was done in juke joints, dancing that was underground. So like, um, but that spirit, one thing that's really interesting about the book spirit is that it's very emotional, it's very like raw, It's very big. Not saying it can't be small, but it's very big, and it's usually like up. Like the energy is usually going up and out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like with us, again, originally getting buck was literally like the freedom. And it's important to know from a somatic perspective, the bouncing, the shaking of the body was helping getting some of those traumatized people's emotions out. So if you, and if you even think about like, oh yeah, this is just a natural way. Like so, if you think about how from the Southern church perspective, when people would catch the Holy Ghost, like literally it was a lot of stepping and jumping and shaking. And you know what I'm saying? And after having done it, it's a cleansed feeling, But you got to think this is from people who have probably compartmentalized trauma all week and finally have a cry out, you know what I'm saying? And that's what like that spirit of book is so true to saying. One thing I tell people about being booked is you have to say, I do not care what it looks like. As long as you are attached to the ego side of you that is based off the perception of how you're being received and the need to survive through accepted reception, then you're going to have a limited experience of book. When you get to that place where you don't give a about how it looks, nothing matters more than what you're feeling. That is where you start to walk into that door. Now, the further you go in that door, the more experience of book you're gonna get.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That door.
And that could be like so hard because from this perspective, if this isn't just for lack of a better term, if this is the spirit of book, you need no prerequisites of movement.
Right. It's a state.
Yeah.
A state of being.
And it's not to say any movement that you have or that you learn along the way, you can always experience it. And it's not like sometimes when people think book sometimes or getting booked, they sometimes think also maximum volume. But
intensity?
Yeah, like the biggest, crazy biggest, but it's a spectrum of it. So the movement can still be small, but one thing is whatever you're doing, you're feeling it. So and that's the presence, being present. So instead of me, I've mentally drilled this. Like, yeah, I meant to, like, I'm in my head versus like, this is what I'm feeling. Like, I'm here, like, wherever this is going. Yeah.
I'm not planning the next
thing. Yeah.
It's just happening.
And staying with feeling the body. So that also, and it becomes internal, but not from I'm trying to see what this looks like. It's like, nah, bro, you just.
So would you say that letting go, actually tapping into the buckness, that then creates new textures, new ways people are moving?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Letting go.
Absolutely.
And you're saying that's also connected to the earth, the shapes, or and chopping, breaking down.
Yeah. And then the thing, sometimes it's the connection to like the music that's also happening when you get booked. You know what I'm saying? Because even when we started smoothing it out, it wasn't the idea that we like lost the spirit, the intention of book. We just started smoothing it out, still focused on the feeling and like not knowing where I'm finna go with this, but not giving a you know what I'm saying?
It wasn't like planned out, like it wasn't, or was it of people like studying it, researching? It was more of a feeling. This is the feeling.
Yeah, it was definitely a feeling. Yeah.
It wasn't that people were like, okay, point A footwork.
Yeah, nah. That was not how it was. Like, honestly, like that didn't really get too much into it until we started like opening the studio our own and teaching it. And yeah, that's when we start. And it was just we started just trying to like break down some of the stuff that we had already been doing and giving it names and things that hadn't had names, combinational movements that hadn't had names. But yeah, so
Wow. Okay. Now this makes me a question. How does